Hello Highlands! If you're here, you need some arrows. Today, we'll learn the best ways to get each arrow in Breath of the Wild. Regular arrows, fire arrows, ice arrows, shock arrows, bomb arrows, and ancient arrows. I'm Nico, and I like finding where everything is in Zelda games. If you want more Zelda content, consider subscribing or at least checking out the channel. You can get arrows a few different ways. You can pick up spare ones, open chests or crates, buy them, get them from amiibo drops, or pick them up after defeating some enemies. I was going to show you each treasure location, but there's a lot. So if you want to use the object map I use, all you have to do is type in whatever you need and it'll tell you where to find it. Check the links in the description. Because some of these locations depend on how far you are in the game and which towers you've unlocked, what I'm going to do is show you a few options like where a good group of enemies are to get arrows, which shops you can buy arrows, and any tricks you can do to get those arrows. For enemies, you should know that just because enemies carry a bow, it does not mean they'll guarantee dropped arrows. The enemies that have higher percentage of dropped arrows are silver and gold enemies that carry elemental arrows, enemies that shoot from above like guard towers or master mode platforms, Lionels, and for whatever reason, all the Lizalfos in Zora area. With buying arrows, if you bought arrows from a shop, that arrow type will not respawn if you have 50 or more of that arrow type in your inventory. So once you get 49 of an arrow, you can just buy that arrow from all the possible shops. Just know that the arrows won't spawn if you're at the shop already. And for amiibo, you can get all types of arrows randomly from all Link amiibo and the Sheik amiibo. Ganon has a chance to drop regular arrows, Urbosa has a chance to drop shock arrows, Revali can drop bomb arrows, and the Guardian amiibo can drop ancient arrows. With that said, first we have regular arrows. The absolute best way to get unlimited regular arrows is to get a multi-shot bow, go to the entrance of the Lost Woods, shoot torch with regular arrows, and collect those arrows. For whatever reason, you can't do this everywhere. But you can do it in other places like the cooking pot at Kara Kara Bazaar, and if you make a fire by the sign in front of Link's house. Just be careful, don't waste time by accidentally sitting. If you use the torch at the Lost Woods, you can just keep pressing ZR and A as much as you want without worrying about sitting. If you need multi-shot bows, Lionels are probably the best way. Or you can get a Forest Dweller bow in the small cave in the Lanayru wetlands. Duplex bows do work, but they probably aren't worth the time. And if you do this with a 5-shot Lionel bow, you can get more than 100 arrows per minute. Check the card in the corner or the link in the description to see me use a 5-shot Lionel bow with the durability of a Twilight bow. Another way to get unlimited arrows, if you're patient, is from the chest on Eventide Island. All chests on Eventide respawn, so you can go to the island that's all the way east and open the chest in the water. Fast travel back to the island and open it again. If you have the travel medallion, it would be much easier and faster. Another way to get arrows is from enemies. If an enemy misses you or hits your wooden shield, you can collect those arrows. So if you're patient and okay with running around or damaging the shield, you can just hang out until you collect as many as you want. Keep in mind that there is a certain amount of arrows that can be loose in the overworld at one time. If you run around not collecting anything, the few next arrows won't show up to be collected. So collect them as they come up and then save and reload if needed. For good locations of enemies that drop regular arrows, I picked a few spots that have at least 4 enemies that drop arrows. You can sneak, defeat those enemies, grab their loot, and run away if you don't want to fight the other enemies. There's a camp north of the Tabantha stable up a mountain. A camp north of the Akala Tower. These bokoblins can also drop bomb arrows. The camp west of the shrine on the edge of the cliff just southeast. And remember that all the Lizalfos in the Zora area can drop arrows, and there's more than 50 all around. And if you want to buy regular arrows, Rito Village, Korak Forest, Zora, Hatino, Gerudo, Lurlin each sell 15 regular arrows. Kakariko sells 20, and if you brought Faison to Terry Town, he sells 50. There's a man named Botrick at the outskirts table that sells 25, and of course you can buy arrows from almost every beetle.
Thank you!
So if you want to go to all the shops, you can buy more than 250 arrows. So when your arrows drop below 50, just visit all those shops. Next we have fire arrows. Like regular arrows, I'll just let you know the decent places to get a good group of enemies that may drop fire arrows. Remember that there are still chances that they might not drop anything at all. There's an enemy camp north of the Gerudo Highlands and south of the Tabantha Tower, east of the Gerudo Great Ferry, the bridge north of the Central Tower, all the Fire Breath Lizalfos in the North Mine, and there are 4 Fire Breath Lizalfos in the ruins north of Gerudo Town. It's possible for Lynels to drop up to 40 arrows. And the 3 Lynels that drop fire arrows are the middle Lynel in the Tabantha Snowfield, the Lynel in the middle of the field east of the Serene Stable, and the Lynel in the Akala Valley. If you're playing Master Mode, there's platforms down the waterfall where Farouche comes out of, and the waterfall east of the Lakeside Stable, and 3 bokoblins in the Great Plateau. I followed this route and got 160 fire arrows. Again, because the drop rate percentages, there's potential to get more than 200 or even less than 100. And if you feel like it, or maybe not be worth the journey, just remember that you'll be fighting lots of enemies so you can collect good weapons like Lynel weapons, monster parts like Lizalfo's tails, and naturally lots of bows if you need them. And if you want to buy fire arrows, Kakariko has 20, Gerudo Town has 30, and Terry Town has 50. Goron City has 3, and Karakara has 1. Doing all of this can potentially get you more than 300 fire arrows. Next, we have ice arrows. There aren't many ice arrow locations, so this is basically all of them. I chose 8 spots to go to. The camp northeast of Selmy's house, there are 2 enemies with ice arrows. The northernmost camp, there's lots of enemies here, but 4 of them with ice arrows. North of the flight range has 3 enemies. East of the flight range has 2. The camp west of the shrine in the Gerudo Highlands has 4. The other 2 camps in the Highlands have 2 each, and this one has 3. You can also get them from 3 specific Lynels, and they are the one in the Lanayru Road East Gate, West Lynel in the Tabantha Snowfield, and the Lynel west of Hebra. If you're playing Master Mode, there is one good location, and that's the platforms west of the Great Plateau. I followed this route once and I got 200 ice arrows. If you want to buy ice arrows, Zoro's Domain has 20, Gerudo Town has 30, Terry Town has 50, Goron City has 3, and Karakara has 1. Including shops and enemies, this is a total of 304 ice arrows. Now we have shock arrows. Shock arrows are the easiest of the elemental arrows to get if you're okay with fighting Lynels. Of all 23 Lynels in the game, 15 of them drop shock arrows, and they have a potential to drop up to 40 shock arrows. If you're not comfortable fighting Lynels, first I would say, go for it. Try your best, and the only way to overcome it is to do it. And if you need help, I do have a video explaining all Lynel attack patterns and how to deal with them, so check the card in the corner or the link in the description. And for good enemy camps, there aren't that many. There is 4 bokoblins in the platforms on the north camp of the Gerudo Ferry, and 3 southwest of the Gerudo Town. Then there are 5 Lizalfos by the Spring of Courage, but they're far from one another and you have to climb and run around to collect them. And there's a camp east of Zoro's Domain, but there's no easy way to get there. And to buy shock arrows, Lurelin and Gerudo Town both have 30 shock arrows, Korok Forest has 15, Tarry Town has 50, and Karakara has 1. Remember that with the drop percentages, you can get more than 500 shock arrows total. Now the arrows most people are looking for, bomb arrows. I will start with the easiest way, which is actually to buy them. The only problem is that they're a little expensive. Rito has 25 bomb arrows for 1,000 rupees. Hatino has 35 for 1,300 rupees. Gerudo has 60 for 1,800 rupees, Terrytown has 50 for 1,750, and Karakara has 1, don't go there. Assuming you have access to all bomb shops, that's 170 bomb arrows for 5,850 rupees. Just don't forget that these arrows won't appear in the shops unless Link's bomb arrows are below 50. If you need rupees, I have 2 videos comparing all the rupee farming methods. This way you can choose which you like or choose the best one depending on how far you are in the game. Check the card in the corner or the links in the description. Now if you want to collect bomb arrows from enemies, there are only a few locations of enemies that drop bomb arrows. The first place I would go to is in the enemy camp north of the Akala Tower. There are 3 bokoblins that drop bomb arrows, but the others drop regular arrows and fire arrows. There's also a camp east of the Typhlo Ruins that has 5 bokoblins, but there's no easy way to get here. You can possibly win bump there or leave a travel medallion if you have the DLC. There's a camp south of the Gutcheck Rock that has 2 bokoblins, and I chose this spot because it's very easy to get to. And finally, the well-known location is the camp north of the Skull Lake. You basically run around during the rain while they miss you with bomb arrows. Because it's raining, the bomb arrows will not explode, so you can pick them up. This isn't necessarily the fastest way, but is the way to get unlimited bomb arrows. As a matter of fact, it took me 40 seconds to pick up 10 bomb arrows. If the arrow stops spawning or it stops raining, just sit again until it's raining. If you want to sit while it's raining, the closest place that is covered by the rain is against the wall under the cliff by the Korok south of the camp. And make sure you pay attention to the weather. You don't want to get caught when the rain stops. If you're playing Master Mode, there are 3 bokoblins by the Dig Dog Suspension Bridge. And there's also a Lynel on the Great Plateau. I went to all these spots without staying collecting at the Skull Lake spot, and I got a total of 90 bomb arrows. Again, remember that the drop rate varies, so the numbers can be different. Hitting these spots after blood moons is a great idea if you're looking to collect bomb arrows. And finally, ancient arrows. There are only 9 treasure chests in the whole game, and they're all in Hyrule Castle. The only place to buy them is in the Akala Tech Lab, and you need arrows and guardian parts. The best way to get guardian parts is with a glitch, but without glitching, you can run around Hyrule Castle Town, Hyrule Field, and Hyrule Castle and just defeat all the guardians to collect as many parts as you can, and then exchange them for the ancient arrows. Of course, if you need arrows, you can go back to the beginning of the video, and if you need rupees, remember I have a link in the description for different rupee farming methods. Now for the glitch, I do have a video explaining it in great detail, but basically you flip a specific guardian until you see parts you want. Push the guardian far enough and those parts will start to pour out. You can do this glitch again, but you won't see what parts come out when you initially flip it over, because you've technically already collected its parts. But if you push the guardian far enough, its parts will still come out. You just don't know what parts will come out until the glitch starts. This video is basically how to collect each arrow one at a time, but it's actually probably better to collect all of them at once. Go to each shop and buy all the arrows, and after each blood moon, go Lionel hunting. Bomb arrows are the ones you may have to go farm specifically, but Lionel hunting is fun, and you can get great weapons. Use arrows sparingly. Find a place to go bullet time to get great headshots. Use fire by grass for extra burn damage. Use shock arrows near water, metal objects, or in the rain for more damage. And be careful using ice arrows with multi-shot bows. The multiple arrows will cancel each other's freeze. Some of you may have been looking for easier methods, especially for the bomb arrows, but I hope this helped either way. At least you know where all the locations are. Again, you can always check the links in the description for the object maps I used for this. Thumbs up if you liked it, and consider subscribing if you want more Zelda content. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time!